Blog Talk Radio.
You know, so many of us are searching for inner peace, and we seem, or it feels like we live in very uncertain times. And in my experience, one of the best ways to find inner peace is through yoga. We're going to be talking today about yoga and how you can deepen your practice with yoga and become your own teacher, even if you're not a yoga teacher, how you can connect with Buddhism, perhaps, and deepening your yoga practice. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. I'm your host, Edie Summers. The Wellness Coach is your oasis to slow down, tune in, and reboot. Find us on the web at portlandwellnesscoach.com. My very special guest today is Or Shahar. Over 10 years ago, at only age 18, she took a trip to India to take her first yoga course. Recovering from depression, she returned to India a few years later, where she discovered her deep connection to Buddhism and took her initial yoga teacher training and started to practice yoga seriously. And I think this is where I started to practice yoga seriously about 5 or 6 years ago. I studied it when I was young. I took a hatha yoga class, and it was mostly breathing. I was about 11 years old, and I honestly didn't really like it. I didn't really connect to it, and I was bored. And then I sort of dabbled with yoga when I was in college, and I took another hatha yoga class, although this one was more physically based, and I really liked it. I wasn't sure if I could practice because I had some knee injuries from taking dance and being a dancer. And however, I did really like yoga, but it wasn't until about 5 or 6 years ago that I was interviewing someone here actually on Blog Talk Radio, and she was a yoga teacher, and she encouraged me to come take her vinyasa class that was heated. And I took it, and my whole world opened up, and I discovered the power of yoga, and I was able to practice without feeling any injuries from dance. And so we're going to be talking today about yoga and how you can actually become your own yoga teacher. And again, my very special guest is Or Shahar. I see Or here in the studio. I'm going to welcome her into the studio, and let's get started talking about how you can find inner peace, again, through one of the ways that I feel is the best, which is through yoga. On that note, hi, Or. How are you today?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you. How are you today?
Good. Well, good. Thanks for being here. And I just wanted to let you know that, yeah, it's really nice to have you here. And Or, I really admire your journey. And could you tell us a little bit more about, you went to India for the first time when you were 18 to take your first yoga course, and then you went back again after you had recovered from depression. Could you explain to us a little bit more, share with us just a little bit more about your journey through discovering yoga, and also what was it like to, I know that a lot of people are also probably struggling with depression and, sort of searching for that peace of mind. And like I was sharing, I found yoga to be one of the best ways, and I'm wondering what your experience was like with that.
Yeah, so as you said, I started when I was 18 in my first trip to India. I took I think it was a week course or something like that. And it was the first time that I tried yoga, and it was the perfect conditions for that. So I was very, very fortunate in this way. And then when I came back to Israel, I kept practicing on and off for quite a few years. And at some point, I got very, very depressed. There was a lot of causes and conditions for that. And then obviously it was very hard for me to practice, and I think I even stopped for some time. But when I started to get out of it and I started to look for resources or things that, I remember this was good for me, this was doing me well. So yoga was definitely one of the first things I came back to. And I went deeper and deeper, and I started to come more regularly, and I started to experimenting with practicing a bit at home and reading about yoga and things like that that I didn't done before. And through that, I decided to go to India again to learn just more about yoga. I came with a very clear intention. Like I was very clear on the thing that I want to study. I want to deepen my experience. I didn't came to travel. I was on a mission. And again, I was extremely fortunate to find amazing teachers and to discover Buddhism and discover a very wide world of yoga that really helped me to reevaluate a lot of the thoughts that I have, a lot of the feelings that I have about myself, first of all. Yeah, and that's really helped me to kind of start to gather a toolbox that I can use in my daily life. I think the part of the success of it in a way was that I was already starting to recover. Like I was not doing it as a part of my recovery. It was a part of my journey, that my recovery was a part of it as well, but it was not like as a cure. You understand what I mean?
I would love to. So actually, can you expand on that a little bit further then? Or so you say that you had already started to recover, or already were recovered from depression, and then yoga. Did it take you further beyond? Was it about? Okay, so what do you? Can you expand on that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, I think what I was meaning to say is that I don't see yoga is something that I would recommend as a cure for depression. Like I don't want it to kind of sound like that. It was a part of my recovery journey. There is no doubt about that. But I think that it was one part of other things that I also done. I was in therapy and I was doing different kind of therapies also at the time. So yoga was definitely a big part of it, but it was not the only one. And I feel it's kind of my responsibility to make this very clear.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, because depression is its own ball of wax. And I mean, I studied counseling for years, and we have to take depression very seriously. And it's very good to seek out therapy, but I also feel that people heal holistically, and to me that means drawing from many resources. And again, though, when you mention a toolbox, to me yoga is one of the best skills and tools to have in your toolbox. And I love how you talk about how it actually took you beyond that place of recovery. I mean, Or, what does that look like for you? Because I was talking earlier about inner peace, and I know that you talk about that as well, and like deepening your practice. So what does it mean to deepen your practice and even become your own yoga teacher? What does that look like when one moves even beyond sort of the baseline of like not surviving in this world? Because I feel like so many of us are in that mode where we're feeling like we just have to survive, but it's really not even about that, right? Isn't it about finding that inner peace, and then what lies beyond that? What has yoga done for you in terms of helping you to cultivate that inner peace?
Yeah, I think yoga was for me, just as you said, something that gave me a lot of tools and a lot of mindsets that I can use in my daily life. I think for me, if I talk about, or at least when I talk about deepening your practice, I usually talk about it in the context of the opposite of having a superficial practice. because unfortunately nowadays a lot of the yoga that's going on in the world is very much based on Instagram challenges or 200 hours quick fix yoga teacher training, or
Yeah.
quick fixes, workshops and things like that. And I think that for me personally, when I talk about deepening your yoga practice, I talk about making it a real part of your everyday life. And by that I mean practicing regularly, but also making it something that you use in every situation. It's not like I have my life on the mat or on the cushion in my meditation and in my yoga practice, and then I have the life off the mat, and it's like two separate things that don't really
Right.
touch each other.
Right.
And
And
that's
so
what I
how
try
does
to
one make
do.
it? Go ahead. Go ahead. How does
Yeah,
one
like
bring those?
how
How does
one
one
make
meld
it.
those two
Yeah,
together?
that's a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do in my life, and this is what I try to give my students as well. For me
Mm.
personally, and
Mhm.
for what I try to give for my students, is first of all a deeper understanding of what are we doing and why are we doing that. Because I think a lot of
Mm.
people, as I said, they stay on the superficial level of why are they doing this practice,
Mhm.
and that always informs also the how they do it. So I think the basic
Mm.
level is really to understand why are you doing it, finding also your own personal why, and finding your own personal motivation for the practice. That's for me one of the basic things. And then also just understanding the practice on a deeper level, understanding how do we build these postures, why do we build these postures the way we build them,
Right. Yes.
how do we move with the breath and with our natural wishes and abilities and not against them.
Mm.
I talk a lot also about also a wonderful tool to integrate more yoga in your daily life. It's using the ethical aspects of yoga and the ethical guidelines
Mhm.
that you can
Yes.
find in yoga. That's like such an easy tool. And if we talked about, my days in depression, so that was one of the things that I really, really recommend to do, because you can do it in any situation, and it's like a protection shield that you just make sure that you don't harm yourself, you don't harm anybody else, and that in and of itself is a great, great practice. And that was for
Mm.
me in the days when I really had a lot of, yeah, difficulties, you can say, to even do a normal yoga practice, or meditating was, out of the question, because it was just my mind was too troubled. It was not really smart for me to try to meditate. So I said, okay, I just try to practice this kind of ethical principles of yoga and Buddhism. And that's really saved me, because after that, also, when I started again to do all the other practices, I had a very, very stable basis for my
Like
practice
a
that a lot of people don't have, and you can see it's kind of make their practice a bit shaky if they don't have this stable basis.
like the kind of like the foundation, like learning the foundation of what makes yoga yoga. So like you were talking about learning the ethics of yoga and learning about the chakra system and going really again deep into your yoga practice. And I think it's you're right. And today we have a very sort of superficial relationship with yoga. I think a lot of people, and a lot of people maybe don't really know why they're practicing beyond it's trendy, or oh, I've heard yoga is good and it's great. It's great if you go take a class and start exploring. That's fantastic. But
Mm.
it's sometimes we might find ourselves, you know, practicing for reasons that are, or maybe not really getting in touch with the deepest part of ourselves that need that regular practice, and knowing this about ourselves. Like, what is it about ourselves that truly needs yoga? And then how can we get in touch with that to keep showing up beyond when the initial sort of interest in yoga might wear off, right? Because maybe someone will go take a yoga class. Like for me, I took it several times throughout when I was younger, throughout my lifetime, but it didn't really click until I took a heated vinyasa class. For me, I kept telling myself my joints aren't I have like some dance injuries. I just can't do yoga on a regular basis. Those are the things that stopped me. But then once I was able to take a class where I got all the way through the class, and I actually not too long into the class, because it was heated, not too heated, but just a little bit heated, I started feeling like I was dancing, and I felt very empowered, and then it just clicked. And then it was a whole different relationship for me that I began to develop with yoga, and then of course out of that I started, I got certified and started teaching. But I really love what you say there, Or, about you have to, when you talk about deepening your yoga practice, let's take a really, really short break and let's come back. And I know that you have a way that people can connect with you deeper in order to deepen their yoga practice. And I'd love for you to share what that is. And maybe we can explore the connection with Buddhism as well. But let's take a really, really short break. And we're talking about how you can find that why for why you want to keep showing up to practice yoga, not just dabbling in it or doing it because you see people on Instagram doing it. It's what's going to keep you showing up on a regular basis, because it's such a powerful tool, I believe, to keep you well and even go beyond. So we'll be right back. You're listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. And we're having a really, I feel, like very important discussion and just sort of conversation and meditation about yoga and how you can become your own yoga teacher. And Or is the founder of Freedom Yoga. You can go to freedomyoga.info to find out more information about her and what she offers. She guides yoga practitioners who feel their weekly classes maybe aren't enough, and yet maybe they're not ready to commit to teacher training, but they just want to deepen their practice in a way that works with their own schedules. And actually, Or, I know that you had sent me, you have this really amazing PDF that talks about deepening your yoga practice. And can you share with everyone a little bit more about how they can get this PDF and what it means to, we've been talking about deepening your yoga practice, but I know that in your PDF you talk about, getting to know the chakra system, and you were talking about the ethics behind yoga, which I think a lot of times, if someone's just dropping into a yoga class, maybe they won't even hear about a lot of the other kind of deeper parts of yoga that might be really, really beneficial to them. Can you share with people a little bit more about first how they can maybe get your PDF, and then again, maybe just going a little deeper into what does it mean to deepen your yoga practice?
Yeah, so what I shared there in the PDF in this small ebook, it's mostly, like 3 things that I see people do that don't really contribute to their, to deepening their yoga practice, and I give like 3 alternatives. So the first thing that I see a lot of people do, and I already talked about it a little bit, is like Instagram challenges. I do a lot of people rush into yoga teacher trainings. They are still very expensive and very time demanding, but I have a feeling it's maybe a bit judgmental or a bit critical, but I have a feeling that a lot of people prefer to do a yoga teacher training than to actually come weekly to a class or to actually start to practice at home, which it's quite disturbing phenomena, but I know for sure that I'm not the only teacher who feels like that. And what I give as an alternative is to just, and I also talk about learning about chakras, which I find a really good thing to do, but I also think it's not very recommended as a first step. So what I offer to do is first, as I said, to deepen your understanding of the ethical part of yoga and start to practice that. Some kind of as a infrastructure for everything else. And then on top of that, you can start to build, a yoga practice that is really based on understanding and reconnecting with your body. Again, as an opposite of like pushing your body into a certain pose in order to
very
put
important.
it on Instagram.
Right.
And
it defeats the purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's sort of,
and the first thing that I talk about there, it's meditation. Yeah, to make it short.
Meditation, and so important, and it can be so transformative. And I also want to, is it okay, or if I read just a little bit from your PDF, is that all right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm here in this part, you're actually talking about sort of like the teachings of yoga, and you're saying, truth be told, these teachings are not very sexy. Building a foundation is not nearly as exciting as decorating, and we're talking about sort of like Instagram would be sort of like decorating, right? But building the foundation is like learning about like what yoga really is, and a huge part of it is a meditation, and also sort of the ethics that come with it. And one of them is to in a very short way is to do no harm, right? And it's and you say that practicing these ethics will align you with yourself and the universe much quicker and easier than any chakras meditation. And then you talk about when you were very depressed, you felt it was too complicated or even not very safe for you to practice quote-unquote official yoga and meditation because you felt lost and unequipped. But thankfully you'd already practiced some, right? So you said to yourself, okay, I know that I'm in deep shit. My only practice right now is to avoid hurting myself and others. I mean, that's amazing to me that even you have the courage to say that. And sometimes it really does come down to that.
I didn't say it out loud. I said it to myself.
Oh, really? You said it to yourself. Well, then it's the same thing, though, right? It's just, but it's still like having the courage to admit that.
Recognize it.
Yeah,
it's definitely very important to recognize on time. Yeah.
Yeah, when you can name something that you're going through, it sort of that alone begins to release you from it. And then you say that you took the list of 10 non-virtuous actions, printed it, and hung it on your wall, and quite literally saved you. So, I mean, that's just an example right there of how yoga can be so helpful and beneficial. And also, you were talking about meditation in ways that have, or ways that we don't normally think about yoga. Right, so it's really sort of educating yourself, and to me that's deepening your yoga practice. And or can you remind people of where they can, how can someone become part, like see this PDF and sort of get more connected with you and these things that you were talking about?
So if you just go to freedomyoga.info and then write / deepen yoga practice opt, I can just send you the link, and you can just maybe put it in the show notes or something like that. Or if you just go on my website, you can find it in the footer. You will get like a welcome message where you can also just put your email and put your name, and you get it. It's totally for free. And then if you also put your email, then I send new blog post every few weeks, 3-4 weeks, something like that, so we can definitely keep in touch.
That's fantastic. So again, you go to freedomyoga.info and you click on, it says opt, freedomyoga.info/opt. Is that okay?
/ deepen yoga practice opt.
Deepen yoga
not
practice.
A very good. It's not a podcast.
I'm sure someone. I'm sure someone can find it.
It's not. You the link.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do believe I have it here on the show page. So for anyone who's listening, if you just come over to the
Okay.
show page for Become Your Own Yoga Teacher, my interview with Or Shahar, then the link is right on there. And I really love your website too. Or
Thank you.
I love how you talk about, it's really beautifully designed. And of course, more than that, you have some really great reminders on here about, making yoga more than just a weekly class and learning. So I think some of your gifts are, I know you have many, but some of them in terms of
Thank you.
helping other people, or helping people to practice regularly, and also, as you say, deepening your understanding and deepening your practice, and then I also love you talk about upgrading your toolbox. So these are all ways that people can begin to, I mean, whether you're first just discovering yoga or deepening your practice and really
Mm.
wanting to build it into your life in a really sustainable way and take it off the mat, right? So you're kind of so it's not just what you do when you show up in yoga class, but it's how you live your life, right? Like it's the
Yeah,
whole
and I think
picture.
this is
And
why I
yeah.
started this website. This is why I started my blog, and this is why I created my online program, because I felt also
Mm-hmm.
as a teacher that I had so much more than what I can give my students in a weekly class. And I felt that,
Yeah.
there is so much more than what people can experience from yoga than just this weekly class. So this was the reason why I
Yeah.
started from the beginning. And I think
Mm.
I want to go back to what you said before. I think it's really this
Yes.
click that you talked about that I
Mhm.
think that I had as well, because we all come from
Mm.
different motivations and we all make different excuses why we cannot go deeper in our practice. And
Mm.
at some point you just kind of understand, I don't know how long I would live. I don't know how to deal with a lot of things that's going on now with my life. I think for a lot of people
Right.
this click moment, that they
Mhm.
understand really
Yes.
what yoga is about and kind of
Yes.
open up this curiosity. It's something that really comes, unfortunately, from struggle. When people
Oh, it's so
struggle with
true.
something and
Oh, yes,
they
absolutely.
look for a way out, or they
Yes,
find the right teacher, or
absolutely.
they find the right
Mhm.
situation, and then this click that you talked about is something that I really saw in my own life, and also saw in life of other people and even some of my students. And example of it was something that students of mine told me a few months ago. Until I started to learn with you, I didn't even know that yoga and meditation was somehow connected. Like she thought like yoga it's
Mm.
yoga and it's just like
Mhm. Yes.
exercises that we do with our body, and meditation was like something
Mm.
completely different, because she, like me, also came from a Buddhist point of view and a Buddhist
Mhm.
background. And also in Buddhism they don't talk about the physical part, and in yoga they often don't talk about the meditative part. But for me it's so
Right.
interconnected. It's like two things that, like, I don't even understand how you can separate them. Like, I understand why historically that happened. I don't
Mhm.
want to go into, the whole history of yoga coming to the West, but
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, part of this process
There's
was that
yeah.
yoga and meditation got separated. But
Oh,
one
very
of my personal
interesting.
wishes is to
Very
kind of,
interesting. Go ahead.
uh, my
And we
my
still and we
personal one of
go ahead.
my personal mission is kind of to bring them together.
Oh, and that's what a fantastic mission, and what a fantastic message. Or because I feel that there is a separation there. And I also love how you do weave in Buddhism too. And I mean, your whole message is freedom yoga, so because happiness comes from within. And now of course we're getting into Buddhism here, right? In Buddhism it's not being, it's sort of releasing attachment to what is happening, and not so you have a quote, you have a couple of really great quotes on your website. Why be unhappy
Thank
about
you.
something if it can be remedied, and what is the use of being unhappy about something if it cannot be remedied? And again, and then you have this other fantastic quote here from Gabrielle Bernstein, like, worry is a prayer for chaos. And so I really love how that one of your missions is to kind of remind people of the connection between yoga and meditation, and also weaving in the Buddhist thought. And there's so much we could talk about with Buddhism, and there's so much about Buddhism and yoga that are so much very well much tied to inner peace. And I really encourage people to explore Or's website and connect with her. It's freedomyoga.info. Is that the address? Freedomyoga.info.
Yeah, that's true. Freedom Yoga in
yeah.
one word, and then .info.
There's so much more we could talk about. Or we have a few minutes left here, and we could go a little deeper into Buddhism if you wanted to, but I'm wondering, or what is, if you could just give someone just like the major takeaway. Maybe you've already shared it, but if there's whatever is like in the forefront of your heart and mind today, what would be one or two takeaways that you really want to make sure that people get from this podcast today?
The main takeaway I would like to leave people with is really to empower people to become their own teacher. This is the name of my online program, but even if you do it in totally other ways that are not my online program, I think that my main mission is not to teach people. It's something that I realized lately. Like I have this feeling for a long time, but now I can kind of put it a bit better. I read this quote from the Zen master that he says like, the real teacher teach without a teaching, so people will have nothing to learn. So they can just empower to learn from their own selves. And that's something I would like to leave people with, that even if it's me as your teacher or any other kind of teacher, I'm just showing you the doors and the directions, but you are the one who needs to do the work. And I think, there are so many quick fixes, also in the yoga world and also in the Buddhist world and in the spiritual offerings there are in the world, and there are many of them. And I think you just need to walk the path every day, every moment, as awake as you can, and not to kind of escape to, things that looks very shiny and very easy maybe to do. And especially if somebody is considering something like a yoga teacher training, I think before you become a yoga teacher, which is a wonderful thing to do, I'm the last person on earth who will tell somebody, oh no, don't do a yoga teacher training, don't become a yoga teacher. Of course not.
We need yoga teachers.
It's a wonderful thing. Yeah, and we need yoga teachers, definitely. There is no doubt about that. But I will try to empower somebody to think about maybe first becoming their own teacher, maybe first deepening their own practice before they become teachers. Because I know that for myself, I became a teacher after more than 10 years of practice. As I said, sometimes it was interrupted, sometimes more, sometimes less, but I had a pretty big toolbox before I even started teaching. And I think this informed my teaching in a very big way. So this is something I can definitely recommend to somebody, not to kind of start with yoga and 5 minutes later also become a teacher, because it will not benefit anybody. And unfortunately, it happens quite often.
We sort of do the fast track, and I think there is no. I mean, those are what fantastic points, and how such insightful wisdom. And it's, when it comes to finding that inner peace and walking the path, like there is no substitute for doing it on your own. And the beauty though of teachers is showing you that it can be done. I think that's one of the greatest gifts of any type of teacher or any type of role model is showing you that it's possible, and then it's finding the courage in yourself to know that you have what it takes to walk that path. And that's been my experiences. So those are really great. That's a really great fresh perspective on. I love how you say becoming your own yoga teacher. And then,
Yeah, and I think that
I think it's, go
if
ahead.
I can interrupt you, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Yeah, I
totally
just
fine.
wanted to continue your point in the sense that
Yeah.
this inner peace that we are talking about as this kind of
Yes.
wish that we have while we even start practicing yoga, it's not something that I
Mm.
can gift you as a teacher.
Right.
Like I can maybe
Yes.
embody that, or this is a
Yes.
very famous
Yes.
quote from the Buddha. If I can give
Mm.
you enlightenment, I would just give it to you, but I cannot. You need to
Oh,
do it yourself. And I think that
wow.
my mission, in a way, part of my mission as a teacher is just to show the people that this inner peace that they are looking for is something that they already have. Like I don't have anything I
Mm.
can give you because you already have it. And it's not so much about acquiring something or even establishing
Mhm.
something or building something. It's
Yes.
many times, tearing things apart and letting go and uncovering, which is really the work that we need to do. And I heard this from many teachers, and I can say it also from my own experience that, one of my teachers, Tenzing Palmo, Jasuma Tenzing Palmo, she said, if there is just one mantra to Buddhism, it will be let go, let go, let go. And I think that the yoga practice has the
Mm.
same concept, and it's just a wonderful,
Wow.
wonderful way to practice all of these kind of things. It's a for me personally, it's like a playground. I feel that my
Yes.
yoga classes are like a playground when I give people ways to, play with their body and play with their mind. And today, for example, I was teaching the tree pose, and I was talking about it being, also something that I heard from another teacher actually, that it's a
Mhm.
way to kind of practice falling and laughing about it. And this is,
I love
the
that.
perfect
I love
way to
that.
see, just letting
Mm.
go, and it's just we practice it. It's a practice, but it's something that
Practice
I
letting
think,
go.
yeah, it's
Practice letting
definitely
go. That's,
possible.
yeah. That is,
Yeah.
what a beautiful way to conclude our conversation for today. Just practice letting go, and so much of yoga is about that surrender, and meditation. It's letting go of where your mind is, and just letting it be, and also surrendering to whatever pose you're in. And there is the strengthening part too, but I think that surrender is more where most of us need to practice more. And I love that, just letting go. What a beautiful way to end. And thank you so much, Or, for being here and for sharing your wisdom. And everyone, you can check out Or's site again at freedomyoga.info and find, and she has a free PDF called Deepen Your Practice. So you can go on her website and connect with her. And I want to thank you so much for being here today, Or.
Yeah, thank you again very, very much for having me and for trusting me with your people. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a joy to have you here, and thank you so much for your beautiful messages. And I really appreciate this conversation. It's a very much needed conversation today.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you again very much.
Thank you so much, Or. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to The Wellness Coach on Blog Talk Radio. We hope that you have a peaceful rest of your day, and hopefully you can find a way to learn to let go more and realize that you already have that inner peace inside of you. Just allow yourself to get on that path and start walking it. Wishing you much joy and peace, and come check us out for more talks and conversations here on The Wellness Coach. Follow us if you like. And again, thank you so much for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.